Hey guys, so I'm currently eating hot Cheetos. I'm going to severely regret this later, but this is going to be my November reading wrap up, and I managed to read 17 books this month, which is crazy because 10 is usually the max that I can get. But I will say it's because I started borrowing audiobooks from my local library, and it's really kicked up my reading. And I know some people don't consider audiobooks reading, but for me, I do. I enjoy it, so I'm counting it. The first book that I grabbed was The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. I gave this one 4 stars. Here's something you need to know about me. I hate when books end on cliffhangers. I want a story to start and finish. I don't want to have to pick up book 2 to kind of wrap up what I was reading, if that makes sense. This one leaves on such a cliffhanger that I was really upset. Had this been one book from, part 1 and part 2, I would have probably loved it and given this 5 stars and completely, freaked out over. But I'm just picky and I don't like being left on a cliffhanger and then having to go buy another book. But the second book is out if you want to just go ahead and purchase them both, so that way you're not left on a cliffhanger. It might help. But at the time, the second book wasn't out, and I just haven't got around to grabbing part 2. But this is about Lennox. She is Native American. She is a huge activist for her culture, and she's fighting anybody that is trying to infringe on their rights. And then you've got Maxim, who is the son of this big company that is basically fighting Lennox and trying to build a pipeline through their property and just basically taking their property away from them. And she's a huge activist for the women in her culture, just a whole bunch of things. She's basically a huge activist. And at some point, these two characters come together, and Lennox has no idea that Maxim is the son of who her biggest enemy is. And eventually that lie comes out, and that's pretty much all that I'm going to say from there because I don't want to spoil anything for you. Next book that I grabbed was I See You by, Claire McIntosh. I gave this book 2 stars. I am super, super, super picky when it comes to my mystery, thriller, suspense books. You have to grab my attention and keep my attention through the whole book. I don't mind trying to figure it out. This just was so boring up until the last 3 chapters, and then that's when I really got into it. But at that point, this pretty much the whole book was not for me. I'm not going to go into what this one is about, but I had several people who messaged me and they were like, Sasha, I love that book, you're going to love it. And I'm just like, I didn't, I'm so sorry. I didn't love it. But again, I am so picky when it comes to mystery thrillers, guys. That's the one genre that I'm really picky about. The next book that I read was one with my son. He had a book report, and we're at a point where I'm trying to teach him how to structure book reports and how to write one. So the teacher asked that the parents work with your kids to kind of help them build that ability. So yeah, I read The Last Kids on Earth, The Nightmare King, which is book 3 in Max Brailer's series. I did give this 4 stars because I feel like if I were at that age range, it would have been a book that I would have loved. My son loves Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Big Nate, any of those comic book style books. So if yours also likes that kind of thing, he'll probably or they will probably like The Last Kids on Earth. Was The Trouble with Vampires, which is book 29 in the Arganu Vampire series by Lindsay Sands. We all know I am a Lindsay Sands fan. I love the vampire series. You do not have to read them in order. You can definitely read these as standalones. But this particular one is about Santo. He is 1,000 years old. He's never really had a life mate. He has been through a lot. And then all of a sudden, he meets his life mate in the most unexpected way. I'm going to call her Pet, but her name is Petinelia or something. I don't know. I can't say it. But she has some issues too, and she already knows about vampires. So she already knows what he is. She just didn't know about the life mate thing. And let me tell you, the story this time took me through a loop. There is always some sort of mystery factor in her books, and that's what I love about them. I love trying to guess, like, who's out to get him, why. I love that. Just love it. And these two characters together just, oh, it was so good. I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. This is definitely one that I highly recommend you grab if you are into fated mates. Love fated mates. So the next one was Dreaming of a White Wolf Christmas by Terry Spear. I gave this one 3 stars. I honestly don't know if werewolf shape-shifting is my thing. I've yet to find a book with werewolf shapeshifters in it that I genuinely love. So if you have any recommendations for me, leave them in the comments, because it's definitely one that I don't want to give up on yet. And please don't say Twilight, because I tried Twilight, but I think I was a little too old for it. It just didn't work for me. Yeah, I'm the oddball out when it comes to Twilight. It wasn't my thing. So yeah, this one is about this guy. He's a white wolf, and their group is very small because there's not a lot of white wolves. There's usually like gray and red wolves, but white wolves are like these special brand. I don't know, special group. And during camping, the female in this series, or this book, gets bit by one of his kids, his friend's kids. And she ends up turning, and she, like, you know, hides herself away, and he comes and he rescues her, and then all of a sudden, just like that, they are falling for each other, and I don't know. I didn't like it. Again, maybe werewolves just aren't for me. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to try another one by this Terry Spear person. But I don't know. I'm not rushing. Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. This is an audiobook I listened to. I gave it 4 stars. This is young adult, and I think if I would have listened to it during the time that I was really into young adult, I would have enjoyed this. It's about this, like, Southern belle that, you know, she's all prim and proper, and she's trying to be Miss Perfect, and, you know, like the real go-getter of your school. And then all of a sudden something happens, and she now has to protect this guy that she just cannot stand, and it's got like magic in it, and I don't know. It's cute. Would have worked for me when I was younger, but that's pretty much the gist of that one. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is another one that I listened on audiobook. I found that I really like listening to mystery, thriller, suspense books on audio because the narrators really get into it and they make it like really interesting. So I think I'm going to keep doing mysteries on audiobooks. But this one I gave 3 stars. Pretty much figured out what was happening really early in the book. And once I've already figured it out, it's just kind of boring for me the rest of the way. It wasn't bad, but again, super picky on those mystery thrillers, guys. So picky. I don't like to really go into what mystery thrillers are about because I feel like those are better to go in blind. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you guys what the mystery thrillers are about. The next one that I listened on audiobook was called Snowfall in Haven Point by Rayanne Thine. I think I'm saying that right. I gave this one 5 stars, guys. I loved it, but it was so cute. It was just a light, fluffy romance. Perfectly Christmas themed. So if you guys are looking for a Christmas book, that one is good. If you just want light romance and you don't want like the naughty stuff in it, that was a cute one. I highly recommend that one for sure. Now the next one was also an audiobook. It is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. You guys, whew, this one blew my mind. I will say though, this is huge trigger warnings. This one's very violent. This one made me feel sick to my stomach. This one was just so gory, so violent, so, oh my, you know what the is going on? It blew my mind. I gave it 5 stars. I think I liked it even more because I listened to this in the audiobook, but I am giving you that warning that this one is very triggery, very violent. Yeah, just a heads up there. The next one I read was Snow Angel Cove by Rayanne Thine. This is the first book in her series. You do not have to read them in order. They can all be read as standalones. It's kind of like the Lindsay Sands, where if you start from the beginning, you already know some of these characters, but you don't really need to, if that makes sense. I gave this one 4 stars. This is about a mom who, you know, moved to this new place trying to make a better life for her kids, and her kid has a heart defect, and she gets hit by this car who's drove by this guy who is like a billionaire, and he takes them in because there's this blizzard, and then he hires her, and it kind of goes from there. It, again, is light, fluffy romance. It was cute. It was good. I'm definitely keeping Rayanne Thine as one of the authors I'm going to follow and probably devour more of her books in the future. November 9th. I listened to this one as an audiobook. This one's by Colleen Hoover, and you guys know I love Colleen Hoover. She's one of my favorite authors. However, recently I have not been enjoying her latest books. Or at least that I've read. Like, I didn't like Without Merit. I was just kind of meh about November 9th. It's about these 2 characters. They're young. They're like 18 years old. They meet on November 9th, and for the next 5 years they meet on that same day. And somehow they like are falling for each other, even though they only talk one day over the 5 years. I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. That's really all that I'm going to say about that. That I listened to was The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This one was one of those like, wait, what just happened? Okay, figured that out, but what? Again, it's a mystery thriller, so I'm not really going to go into it because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it was definitely one of those ones where I was like, what in the world? I will give you a trigger warning here, though. It does have domestic violence in it, so heads up there. How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. I listened to this one as well. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. Like, I liked it. I am wondering if maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I would have read it instead of listened to it. But I'm definitely looking forward to grabbing the next book that she wrote. Oh, something about fire. I can't remember the title of it. I'll try to pop the picture of it up over here because I cannot for the life of me remember it. But it's on my wish list, and I put it on my wish list for my library, so I have to wait my turn, but, you know, eventually I'll get it. This one that I actually read was Magic Bites by Ilona Andrews. This is a husband-wife duo. I did not know that when I picked the book up because I found book 3 at Goodwill, and then I was like, oh great, this is a series, and you kind of do have to read in order with this particular series. So I was like, oh, okay. Thankfully, my library had it. I gave book 1 3 stars because I feel like I jumped in the middle of a story. I had no idea what was going on, and it just wasn't very exciting and entertaining. And I feel like a part of me is like, skip book 1 and just go straight to book 2, but I feel like then you won't understand the relationship that is kind of happening between Kate and the male character Curran. Yeah, you won't really get it. But this is basically a magical world with Greek gods and like any magical thing you can think of is in this book. Shapeshifters, vampires, wizards, witches, gods, everything. Everything! Demons, everything's in this book, okay? Everything. So yeah. Curran is a lion shapeshifter, but let me tell you, that didn't sway me because I thought, okay, here's my thing. I thought for sure I was not for shapeshifters because they're animals and it's kind of weird. But I've come to find that I really didn't mind the jaguar shapeshifting or the lion shapeshifting. I think it just comes down to like I haven't found a good werewolf book yet. I think that's where we're at. So then I moved on to book 2. And this one I gave 4 stars. It was so much better than book 1. However, I can't really tell you much about it because that kind of, again, this is that series where you have to read them in order. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you just to skip book 1, but you kind of need to read it to understand what's going on in book 2. This one, there's like a huge conflict, battle kind of thing where she has to come together again with Curran, what she is desperately trying to avoid. He is the Beast Lord King, so he is the alpha male, and, you know, that's pretty much all that I can say there. And he is very frustrated with her because she just keeps causing problems. And that's really all that I can say. But you definitely see kind of a little bit more of sparks in this one. I will say, however, in book 1 and 2, there's not a lot of romance in there. This is like full-on action-packed magic craziness. Okay? So there's no romance. None whatsoever in book 1 or 2. But you get a little idea that maybe something is starting to happen there. So, I don't know. We'll find out in book 3 when I let you guys know. Then I listened to The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hong, and I gave this one 5 stars. You guys, this was so good. I almost didn't pick it up because the way everybody was describing it, I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't something I want to listen to. But my word, the way that Helen Hong wrote the story, and I don't know if I liked it more because I listened to the audiobook, but whew, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. 5 stars. It is about this woman who has autism. I would say she's probably more on the high functioning side of autism, and she, you know, she's working through life as being an independent person, and, you know, she doesn't want autism to be her main descriptive word. She doesn't want people to see her as her autism. That's just a part of who she is. It's not the only thing she is, right? She hires this male escort to help her learn about relationships, and it just kind of goes from there. You learn more about the male escort and why he's doing what he's doing, and I don't know. It was just really good. It was really good. I highly suggest you listen to the audiobook because I loved it. But I will say it's not for little ears. So if you've got little ones around, or, you know, you're in public, don't be blasting that because it gets pretty naughty, if you get what I'm saying. I was shocked. It was one of those ones I had to keep my headphones in for. It was naughty. And the last one that I listened to was The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. This one I gave 3.5 stars. I did listen to this on audiobook. Maybe I would have liked it a little bit more if I would have read it. Another thing, too, is I am not big on historical romance. For me, that's a little bit harder to get into, but I'm trying because I've found a couple that I've actually enjoyed. So those are another hit and miss genre for me. This is about a woman who is a clock timekeeper, and she is looking for work. And she stumbles upon this rake who is just ornery. Again, this is another book you do not want to listen to in public because it does get a little naughty. He has 2 orphan girls he is trying to raise, and he ends up hiring her to be their governess. And through all of this, they end up starting to have some feelings there, and it just kind of goes from there. So I don't know. Like I said, I gave it 3.5 stars. Might have liked it better if I would have actually read the book rather than listened to it, but I'm going to give Tessa Dare another shot in the future. But that is all 17 books, and I hope you stuck along with me through all of this. I know it was a long one. So out of all of these books, I am definitely going to say, if you like the vampire faded romance, grab The Trouble with Vampires by Lindsay Sands. If you're looking for light, fluffy, Christmassy romance, pick up Snowfall on Haven Point by Rayanne Fine. Mystery thriller, if you can take gore and severe violence and all of that, Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, but listen to the audiobook. I think that's really what made this story for me, was listening to the audiobooks. The narrator did an amazing job. And the last one that I'm going to say absolutely grab if you're looking for kind of like a naughty romance is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hong. Absolutely wonderful. I was so excited to get a few really good books that might actually be my favorites of this year, but that's going to be it for me, guys. I will see you in January for my December wrap-ups. And I cannot believe 2019 is almost over. All right, I'll see you next month for another book wrap-up. Bye!